Joining us right now on the show, one of the more vocal proponents of Donald Trump here in the state of Texas. He's even been referred to many times by Donald Trump. It's Texas Ag Commissioner Sid Miller, the guy in the big white hat.
Good morning, Chad.
How are you?
I'm just dandy. It's a great day here in Austin. We're getting ready for our Family Land Heritage event where we honor those farms and ranches that have been in the same family and operating for 100 years plus. So it's a good day here at the Texas Department of Agriculture.
Well, that's great. Tell our listeners a little bit about that event.
Well, what we do is we honor those families that have been continuously farming or ranching in the state of Texas for 100, 125, 150, up to 200 years with a special recognition, special ceremony. And today it's going to be in the Senate chambers. We've always done it in the House chambers, but they're remodeling it, so we're going to do it in the Senate chambers. We had a breakfast this morning for our sponsors. We're going to feed them all a good Texas barbecue lunch on the dinner on the grounds at noon, and then the ceremony will start at 1 o'clock. So we have 41 Texas families that we're going to honor today.
That's great. Great event happening today. And, of course, with agriculture, of course, you are the Ag Commissioner. You also are part of Donald Trump's Agriculture Committee. What's been talked about as far as ag and the Trump campaign is what's gone on with that? Is there any update on what y'all been discussing?
Well, there's several reasons that somebody in agriculture would want to support Donald Trump. Of course, the obvious reason is the Supreme Court and the makeup of that. So if we lose this election and Hillary wins, we'll lose every battle at the Supreme Court too, whether it be property rights, Second Amendment rights, eminent domain battles. We lose. Regulation, waters of the U.S., we'll lose. So that's huge. The second biggest thing for people in agriculture is, I think, it's trade. And that you might even put it ahead of over-regulation. And, of course, Trump's pledged to end things like the waters of the U.S., and for every new regulation he's going to make Congress cut too. But trade is very interesting. He's right. We don't win anymore. The deal we did with Cuba was bad. The deal we did with Iraq and Iran's bad. We have a $800 billion trading deficit with China. You don't have to hire an economist to figure out if you're buying more stuff than you're selling. We're going broke. We can't continue that. And, I think he's right on NAFTA. That document's 22 years old. I had the meeting with the new governor right here in my office, the governor of Tamaulipas, Governor Cabeza de Vaca, and he agrees that, markets have changed, technology have changed, products have changed, and we need to revisit that and update it. And I trust Donald Trump to make good deals. When he wants to, you may be a fan of TPP, you may not, but either way, let's let Donald Trump renegotiate that deal. He'll make it a good deal, a great deal. So I'm excited about that, and I'm excited for agriculture with a new Trump administration.
Well, we're visiting with Texas Ag Commissioner Sid Miller. You've been, I think it's pretty easy to say, the most vocal proponent of Donald Trump, at least among Texas officials. I don't know if you would agree with that, but I think you are one of the more vocal proponents of Donald Trump. Why do you think that is? Is you look at you have other Republican officials in Texas who have said they'll support the Republican nominee. They'll support Donald Trump. They'll support him, but you don't hear a lot of campaigning, and maybe that's not what the Trump campaign wants. But why do you think why is it that you're so vocal?
Well, I guess I've kind of got that no fear attitude. I'm doing what I think's right. I've never been very politically correct. I've always done what I thought was best in the interest of Texas and the best interest of the Department of Agriculture. So, yes, I've been very vocal. Last week I was on Fox News 3 times, twice on Fox and Friends. I've been on Rush Limbaugh twice in the last week.
Yeah.
Donald Trump's talked about me in his last 5 speeches, again in one yesterday. And just kind of tell it like it is. Just like, I'm telling you why Trump administration would be great for Texas and great for agriculture, and why Clinton administration would be a wreck.
If you had to guess, right now in Texas, how much does Donald Trump lead by?
Well, and that was one of the reasons I went on Fox. Is there was a poll said it's neck and neck. Texas could turn Democrat. It's going to be a toss-up. Hillary's going to start spending money. Well, that's not true. The polls are all wrong. They oversampled Democrats by 8 to 15%. They oversampled women by 5 to 8%, and they undersampled Republicans. And they didn't sample because there's no way to sample all the new Trump supporters. The last figures I saw, our early voting was up 150%. So there's an extra 20 or 25% voting out there that have never voted before. And I don't think they're former Bernie Sanders supporters. I don't think they're Obama supporters. I think they're God-fearing, loving Texans that like Trump.
Do you think that on Election Day, you've seen? I know you keep up with the headlines. Polls are tightening. You see Trump, I think, surging in some of these swing states. Do you think it's close, or do you think Trump? You think Trump wins by more than what anyone is expecting?
Well, I think if he wins, it's more than anybody's expecting.
No, that's true.
The media is painted it that 10 days, 2 weeks ago, that Hillary was measuring for drapes in the White House and filling out her cabinet and trying to work on some Senate seats so she could take the majority. But that's not the case now. We've got a real horse race on our hands. I don't think Trump's going to win by a landslide. I do think he's going to win, but I think it's going to be close, and we've got to work really, really hard.
If Hillary wins, we've already had some Republicans who have come out and say that she'll be impeached. Do you think that will happen?
I think that's very likely. What we learned now that the Clinton Foundation has been under investigation by the FBI for a year, and we didn't know about it. She's under investigation again. Should have been from the first time they went through it, but thank goodness they're back on it now. So it doesn't look good for her. I'm not, I believe in the American way. You're innocent until proven guilty, but this one doesn't pass the smell test.
We're visiting with Texas Ag Commissioner Sid Miller here on the show. Very big Trump supporter, part of the Donald Trump Ag Committee as well. You have been real vocal on social media, and you talk about how Donald Trump's leading in a lot of polls. Do you have a lot of contact with the Trump campaign, and is that on a daily basis, a weekly basis? How does that work?
Well, we were having daily conference calls, the surrogate speakers, and then somebody leaked those calls to the media, and they listened in on them, so we had to stop. So now we're having weekly calls. I'll have one tonight with the whole campaign team on board to try to line out what we're going to do in these final few days of the campaign.
If Donald Trump wins and becomes the next president, if he offers you a job in the White House, cabinet post, if he offers you a job, would you take it?
Chad, that's flattering, but right now we're kind of like the dog chasing the bus. We're just trying to catch the bus. And once we catch the bus, we'll figure out what we're going to do with it. But I don't think anyone's really talking about that or looking at that right now. We're all focused on getting to the finish line and winning. Of course,
but is that something you'd keep a door, kind of open to, maybe?
That's something that I wouldn't want to answer right off the cuff. It's something that I'd want to pray about, talk to my family about, talk about with my staff here at the Texas Department of Agriculture. I don't think that's something that should be made, a snap decision be made on.
Okay.
But yes, to answer your question, yes, you'd have to consider it.
Okay. Now, I got to ask you about this. The tweet that was sent out the other day.
Right.
And it was a staff member had sent out a tweet. Is that what it was that used a vulgar term to describe Hillary Clinton? Did y'all have a talking to? Because I noticed your Twitter account has been silent for 23 hours, Commissioner.
That's right.
So what's going on with the Twitter account?
So here's what happened. We're real active on Facebook. I got over 10,000 likes last week when I was on Fox and Rush, and Donald was talking about me in all his speeches. So I told my campaign team, I said, look, we're not doing hardly anything on Twitter. I'd like to ramp that up. I need some help. So I hired a couple of people. I said, all right, I can't do it. I've got meetings all day long here at TDA. I'm working, but y'all just, prowl around there, and if you find something that's interesting or useful to the campaign, well, just copy and paste it or retweet it. So they did some of that, and you can go back and look at some of the stuff they put up there, where they found a real interesting poll. One of the first ones that actually had Trump leading. It was 43-42. They didn't read it closely. It said Trump. They thought it said Clinton, but it didn't say Clinton. It said something else.
Right.
So they put that up. It was an honest mistake. It should have never happened. We've got two sets of eyes on everything now that's going out. So within 10 minutes, we had it pulled down. I issued an explanation and put an apology up. Put it up on Twitter, put it up on my Facebook, sent a memo out to all my employees here at TDA, and it should have been a one-day story.
Yeah.
But it wasn't. The Democrats are going to, try to play that up, link it to Trump, hating women and trying to, the Democrat Party had a big press conference yesterday, and
right.
I don't. What else do? You make a mistake, you own up to it, which I did, and you apologize for it. And
so now you kind of have a system going on. Two people.
Yeah, we're going to have two sets of eyes on everything from here on out.
All right, now last question I have for you before we let you go: if Donald Trump wins, are you going to send him your big white hat, or are you going to at least get one for him?
I'm not going to let him have mine, but he will get one. As a matter of fact, I've already had several offers from Texas hat companies to custom make a hat for Donald to hold all that hair in place.
There you go. I like it. Commissioner Miller, I appreciate your time today, and we'll talk with you again after the election, okay?
Thank you, Chad.
Have a good one.
Appreciate it, buddy. All right. Bye-bye.
That's Texas Ag Commissioner Sid Miller, who is not going to send Donald Trump his hat. He's keeping his hat.